Hello and welcome to today's video. It would be hard to visit the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv and not see one of the most prominent, recognizable, and massive landmarks in the city. It is the beautiful motherland statue that sits on the banks of the Dnipro. We will look through the design, the construction, and how it is today. The first concepts of building a monument on the banks of the Dnipro came about in the 1950s. The idea was building statues of Lenin and Stalin standing next to each other, and the total height would be about 200 meters. But this idea was later abandoned during the process of de-Stalinization. In the early 1970s, it was decided to build a memorial statue of a smaller stature. The task was eventually assigned to the people's artist of the USSR, Yevgeny Vuchetich, who was a very famous statue designer in the Soviet Union, designing many statues all over the USSR and Warsaw Pact countries. Although there is some mystery to who he chose to be the original statue of the model, and I couldn't find a reliable source, unfortunately Yevgeny would pass away in 1974, and the task of finalizing the design was assigned to people's artist Vasily Borodai. Interestingly, he was technically born in the Ukrainian People's Republic. During his time designing the statue, some changes were made. The first change was the model of the statue. Whoever was the original was replaced with the people's artist Halina Kalchenko. Unfortunately, Halina would pass away in 1975. Although the biggest changes were yet to come. The original design of the statue would be 90 meters in height. This was reduced to 62 meters. There were a few reasons as to why this change was made. Some say that it was because the Orthodox Church at the Kyiv-Pechersk Lavra did not want the statue to appear to be taller than the Great Bell Tower. This is unlikely. The most likely reason was due to aerodynamics and the weight of the materials. Also, the statue was supposed to be constructed out of gilded bronze, with a waterfall flowing down to the Dnipro. But these ideas were also abandoned as they were expensive and didn't really fit the Soviet style of architecture and design. When the plans were finalized in 1978, there was some outrage among the public. They believed that the large amount of money, somewhere between 2 and 9 million rubles, and all the valuable stainless steel could be put to better use. But the government did not listen, and construction started in 1979. Before the construction of the full-size statue, a smaller 10-meter copy was built and tested in Moscow, in the largest turbine wind tunnel available. After these tests came back good, the project was approved. The statue has an internal frame made of steel from the Zaporizhzhia steel factory. The external surfaces are made from stainless steel, which was made into ingots at the Dnipro steel factory and then rolled into sheets at the Zaporizhzhia steel factory. All of the materials were then transported to Kyiv and were ready to be assembled. Prior to the arrival of all the pieces, a 100-meter crane was specially built to lift all of the pieces into position, and the crane would be dismantled later. The stainless steel pieces were all welded to each other using over 30 kilometers of welds. The welders of the statue were paid 50 rubles per day, which was very good for the time. But this reflected the danger of the work. Some welders received damage to their eyes due to lack of proper equipment, and the large amount of welding being done. The engineers received regular Soviet salaries, but their work was not as dangerous. The statue was scheduled to be completed in 1980, but it was delayed to 1981, and the statue was officially opened May 9, 1981, and the ceremony was attended by Leonid Brezhnev himself. The statue was open to the public in 1981, and tourists could view the statue from below and also visit the Museum of the Second World War and the large eternal flame. In 1987, a hurricane swept through Kyiv, which is an unusual occurrence, but the statue remained unharmed. In 2002, the internal elevators were open to the public. The elevators could take tourists to the top of the base at 36 meters in height, or to the top of the shield at 96 meters in height. Unfortunately, in 2003, a young man fell from one of these observation platforms, and access to the platform was restricted as a safety measure, although these restrictions would later be lifted. In 2009, the statue underwent some major restoration and maintenance work. In 2015, the Ukrainian Congress passed a law on decommunization, which banned communist symbols, statue, and also required certain villages and cities to have their names changed, like Dnipropetrovsk to Dnipro, although there was an exception to World War II monuments and cemeteries. This raised the question of the motherland statue. She has the Soviet emblem on her shield, and although she is located on World War II memorial grounds, many citizens thought that she should be replaced or at least have the emblem removed from the shield. But government officials just sort of pushed it aside since it was very difficult and very expensive. After the start of Russia's full-scale invasion, the push to remove the old Soviet emblem and replace it with the Ukrainian trident was very large, and the Ministry of Culture currently plans to have it replaced by 2024. That's all for the video today. The motherland statue is one of my favorite things to see in Kyiv, and she can be seen from almost anywhere in the center of city or along the banks of the Dnipro. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please remember to like and subscribe.